After betraying the Bloodline at the Royal Rumble and leaving the faction after getting attacked by Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn has posted his first comments on social media revealing he's throwing all of his Bloodline possessions away in the trash. John Cena, will he be at WrestleMania 39? We've got an update on his status for the showcase of the Immortals and does it fit in with his busy filming schedule. Hulk Hogan, there have been a lot of rumors about Hulk Hogan's health recently and a statement has been released regarding the WWE Hall of Famer. Cody Rhodes has spoken about how he suffered his torn pectoral tendon injury and the conversations he held with Vince McMahon prior to Hell in a Cell. Logan Paul has commented on his Royal Rumble return. An NXT match was pulled from last night's episode on the USA Network with no explanation. We'll talk on that. Indy Hartwell has teased a call-up to the WWE main roster. Vengeance Day is this coming weekend and more matches have been added to the card. And the Godfather signs a new WWE Legends deal. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about Sami Zayn. No longer Sami Uso, no longer the honorary Us, a man on his own. He's not in any island of relevancy or anything like that. He is alone, maybe with Kevin Owens, I suppose, as well. But Sami Zayn has posted on social media for the first time since the WWE Royal Rumble this past weekend. In the main event of the January 28 event, Roman Reigns defeated Kevin Owens to retain his undisputed WWE Universal Championship. But following the bout, it was the big news story coming out of the Rumble. The Bloodline continued to beat Kevin Owens down, but Sami Zayn ultimately turned on the faction during the segment, striking Reigns with a chair before Reigns, Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa brutalized Zayn. Now, notably, Jey Uso didn't take the Bloodline side, leaving the ring during the beatdown. He even posted on social media that he was done, suggesting he wanted a future match against the Tribal Chief the same way that he did in back-to-back pay-per-views back in 2020. But on Tuesday, Sami Zayn posted a photo on Twitter of all of his signed Bloodline memorabilia by his trash bin outside of his home. This is further proof that Sami has cut ties for the Bloodline stable following his beatdown on the Royal Rumble show. Of course, when it comes to Roman Reigns, his plans for WrestleMania have now been confirmed. It has now been officially announced that the Royal Rumble winner Cody Rhodes will challenge for Reigns' undisputed WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania 39. Despite many calling for Zayn to face Roman Reigns at the April event. However, it's highly speculated, and at this point, whilst not confirmed, most people assume this is going to be the case. It's going to be Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship in the main event of Elimination Chamber. Of course, that event taking place in Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens' hometown of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and that's going to be taking place later on this month, and certainly going to be a massive show for Sami Zayn. However, that hasn't stopped the calls for him to be in the main event of WrestleMania against his former Bloodline stablemate. Whether or not WWE will pivot, change plans, have Reigns wrestling twice on both nights, that's still a possibility. However, as of right now, the only match that is confirmed for WrestleMania when it comes to Roman Reigns is that Cody Rhodes showdown. John Cena. Speaking of WrestleMania, is John Cena going to be at the show? Obviously, he wrestled right towards the end of last year, making sure he kept his record intact of wrestling every year, a match in WWE since 2002, since he made his WWE debut. There's been talk about The Rock. There's been talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin, and now there's talk about John Cena on the road to WrestleMania 39. It's been the belief for a while that Cena was primed for a match with current WWE United States Champion Austin Theory, although at one point Logan Paul had requested a match for Cena himself. Now, signs are now pointing to Paul versus Seth freaking Rollins at the minute, which makes Cena versus Theory the most likely for the show. But either way, the point is Cena has been expected for WrestleMania. However, a new report from Variety reveals that John Cena is currently in Melbourne, Australia, filming a movie with Zac Efron called Ricky Stenicki. The report states that production will take place through February and March, which means the takeaway is that Cena's a bit busy at the moment. This likely means he won't have much, if any, time to have any pre-match build-up to whatever is potentially planned for him at WrestleMania, whether it's a match with Theory or something else entirely. Now, back when Cena appeared on SmackDown at the very end of 2022, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reported that he'd filmed some content with Theory that we've yet to see. Now, some had suspected this could be for the upcoming WWE 2K23 video game, which is being marketed around Cena. But if there's a Mania match with Theory planned and Cena isn't going to be around for any build-up, it would make sense for that to be pre-filmed content to fill the gaps. Now, it's not unprecedented to have a WrestleMania match built with one person not being there. They've done it several times, mostly with The Undertaker. If you think back to John Cena's match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 34, John Cena called out The Undertaker, called out The Undertaker, called out The Undertaker. The match wasn't even announced or confirmed for the show until the show. John Cena came out, The Undertaker came out, they had their match, Cena got squashed in about 90 seconds. Same thing happened with The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 31. Bray Wyatt, the year after the streak was broken, called out The Undertaker, called out The Undertaker, called out The Undertaker. Eventually, The Undertaker accepted whilst not actually being there. Appearing on the Titantron was this phrase saying, at WrestleMania, the man comes around. And he did. And he defeated Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. So we could see a situation where Austin Theory calls out Cena, continues to call him out, call him out, call him out, call him out. We see a video message or we get some response that says, well, I can't be there right now, I will be there at WrestleMania. That's a possibility. Or, as Fightful mentioned, that content that was filmed backstage at Cena's last appearance in WWE, maybe they just shot an angle then. It's entirely possible. People don't need to know where Cena is at any point in time. They can do some smoke and mirrors and they can confirm the match if indeed Cena is going to be there. Now, let's talk about Hulk Hogan. Now, lots of rumors have been talking about Hulk Hogan's health as of late, and it really stems from Kurt Angle on his podcast. Now, an update has emerged on WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan following concerns that have arose following his recent back surgery. Kurt Angle previously noted on his Kurt Angle Show podcast that he was speaking to Hogan at the January 23 Raw 30th anniversary tapings. Hogan stated he can't feel his legs and walked with a cane. Angle said, and this quote comes via the New York Post, quote, Hogan had his back surgery again. He had the nerves cut from his lower body. He can't feel his lower body. So let's use his cane to walk around. I thought he was using the cane because he had pain in his back. He doesn't have any pain. He has nothing at all. He can't feel anything. So now he can't feel his legs. So he has to walk with a cane, which is, that's pretty serious, man. I mean, I really feel for Hogan. He put his heart and soul into the business and ate him up. I mean, if you're going to kick off the show, the 30th anniversary of Raw, it should be Hulk Hogan. He's the name and face of the company. He's the guy that revolutionized pro wrestling. I have so much respect for him. Now, Entertainment Tonight is now reporting that a representative of Hulk Hogan has stated that Hogan is doing well and not paralyzed. It was noted by the rep that Hogan is able to walk without a cane, with the rep saying, quote, everything is okay with him. Hulk is someone with a lot of humor. Now, obviously, Hogan notably opened the show at Raw's 30th anniversary, and he wasn't walking with a cane. He walked gingerly, but at the same time, he's nearly 70. He's an old guy, and he has been through hell physically. That is entirely true. The amount of back surgeries he's had, I think, is in the double figures at this point, and I have seen videos of him walking around with a cane. I've seen him, I think it was during the Crown Jewel 2019 when they had the Hogan versus Flair teams. There was footage of him walking around Saudi Arabia with a cane. So I'm sure on some days he does walk with a cane, but his representatives are saying that everything is okay, he's not paralyzed, but that's not what people were saying. People weren't saying that Hogan was paralyzed. Kurt Angle said that he didn't have any feeling from the waist down or the leg down. But that didn't necessarily mean he can't move around. So it's interesting, certainly. There might be a bit of things lost in translation. Hulk Hogan is entirely known to exaggerate and enhance things as well, and he speaks in hyperbole. So it's a high chance that Kurt Angle is not misinformed with what Hogan told him, but what Hogan could have told him could have been a lie. And that's entirely likely too. Cody Rhodes, an update on Cody Rhodes, how he suffered his injury, and also a really interesting tidbit about him having a conversation with Vince McMahon. Now, Cody Rhodes has explained exactly how he tore his pectoral muscle ahead of Hell in a Cell 2022. The American Nightmare notably wrestled Seth Rollins at the June 2022 event with the injury. Per reports, Cody Rhodes had torn his pectoral muscle completely off the bone during training and was reportedly only allowed to compete because there was no more damage that could have possibly been done to the pectoral muscle. Now, speaking on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast, Cody Rhodes noted he was attempting a 295-pound bench press without warming up when he suffered his injury. Recalling the incident, Rhodes said, quote, the stupid thing was, I've been wrestling since I was 15, is when I started pro training. No injuries, I felt bulletproof, walked in the gym, flip-flops on in the gym, bad sign, open cup of coffee, got on the bench, put on 295, didn't even warm up, was going for 4. The dude on the other side of the gym, testosterone filled, just me and this other dude. I have no idea who this man is. I don't know why he's grimacing at me. I'm grimacing at him now. The plot thickens. He's doing his full CrossFit routine, like taking up the whole jungle gym. It's just me and him in there. I'm going to show you, dude. I just done racket and it went right away. I felt it. I didn't need to kick the weights off. They flew off. Then this dude, who I've been having this moment with, runs over. Hey man, are you okay? Now, discussing his Hell in a Cell performance, Rhodes noted, quote, they were really cool, and I think that it was something that Vince really knew I wasn't going to take no for an answer. I might have had to take a no, but I just didn't want to get to it. I had a great conversation with him, and he was really clear about, hey man, if you're struggling, get out there. We got to call it. And I said, all right, well, it's a struggle always when you're wrestling Seth. It's a struggle when you're in Hell in a Cell, but I did understand that, and they let me finish. The referee in the ring, Spider, that's his nickname, he talked to me the whole time because I was just on Planet Z. I was in shock still because, shock puke whenever you feel like you're going to vomit, you break a bone or whatever, it hits something up front. I sat right up. It looked like I sat up for the camera shot. I sat right up. Here it comes. I'm going to throw up, and they're going to instantly ring the bell. I think if I'd have thrown up, they would have been okay because people like watching a car wreck, but there's a limit to it. Now, it's quite interesting, certainly, that essentially that he was going to throw up. He was in shock that whole time, and it just makes that match. Not only is this the whole spectacle of it, that match against Seth Rollins, incredibly impressive because he's wrestling there with one arm. It's insane. But also the match was good. The match was really, really good as well. So it's just fascinating to know how it happened. And and also as well, this is what's curious, is back in the day, that might have got you a bit of heat in WWE to get injured in that way. The Undertaker did it as well. He tore his pec a similar way, actually, on the weights bench. I think he was with Bryan Adams, and he didn't spot him, and he tore his pec because of it. So it has happened before, but some people back in the day would have rolled their eyes, but you weren't taking care of yourself. Oof. Oh, I don't know about that. Certainly interesting to hear the news behind the scenes, though. Now, speaking of Logan Paul, of course, he made his return at the Royal Rumble, and he's reflected on a memorable moment with Ricochet at the Rumble. Despite eliminating Seth Rollins to kickstart a possible WrestleMania feud, the most memorable moment for the social media star had to be his double springboard and mid-ring double clothesline collision with Ricochet. Speaking on his Impulsive podcast, Logan reflected back on the spot. He said, quote, the move, we both do a springboard. When this move was pitched to me, I was like, is that possible? Generally, when I have that reaction, it's a good thing because if it is possible, it's incredible. I don't think it's been done before. It has. The wrestling purists will perhaps come down on me for this, but I don't think it's been done before. It has, which is what I really like to do. I like to chase those moments that are really fresh and create that social media buzz. Mid-air, me and Ricochet clothesline the shit out of each other are at 1,000 miles an hour, and then when we landed, because we're falling from 7-8 feet, I crawl out of the ring. I have to some time to sit there on the edge. Someone gave me prime, shout out to that person, got back in the ring and managed to finish it. Logan Paul eventually made it into the final 3 before he was eliminated by the eventual winner, Cody Rhodes. Now, backstage, Paul's girlfriend, Nina Agdal, was worried about him after coming off a grade 3 MCL tear that he suffered in his match against Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel last November. Logan stated, quote, I told her in the room, I just have to tuck my chin. Every wrestler I passed on the way out was like, tuck your chin. She's like, is this thing? You knew it was a thing, and you didn't do it, you moron. Look, I'm learning as I go. It's hard. I'll be honest, none of it matters because I eliminated Seth Rollins. Now, again, it would appear, seemingly, that they are building to that Rumble match, or the WrestleMania match, between Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. Now, it was quite interesting, actually, because it was during a discussion of the experience having been at the Rumble that Paul, for the first time, heard what Roman Reigns had to say about his performance, with co-host Mike Majalik noting that after the match, he bumped into Reigns backstage and exchanged greetings. It was then that he shared that he asked Reigns if he saw Logan Paul's performance in the Royal Rumble match, and his response was hilarious. According to the co-host, Reigns told him, quote, that boy is going to learn to tuck his chin one of these days, and then gave the dopest smile and just walked away. Hey, Nice guy, Roman Reigns, isn't he? Certainly. NXT was last night on the USA Network, and a match was pulled, and we have no idea really as to why. A match that had been advertised for last night's January 31st episode of NXT mysteriously didn't take place, and there was no mention of it during the show. Now, a week prior to last night's show, a match between Cora Jade and Lyra Valkyria had been announced, but neither woman actually appeared on the show at all. Now, this doesn't seem to have been a totally last-minute decision, though, as Rich Schenhauser, a fan who attends almost all NXT shows, noted that the match wasn't listed in the lineup that had been sent out via email earlier on in the day. However, it still was being advertised as of January 28. Of course, last night's episode was the final episode before Vengeance Day in Charlotte, North Carolina, which neither Jade nor Valkyria have been announced for. Speaking of Vengeance Day, we are going to talk about that in just a second, but another NXT star might actually be getting called up to the main roster very soon, and it's Indy Hartwell, and this one would kind of make sense considering who's already on the main roster, particularly on the Raw brand. NXT star Indy Hartwell appears to have teased her main roster call-up following her appearance at the Royal Rumble last week. Hartwell notably competed in the Royal Rumble bout at the January 28 Premium Live event, entering the contest in the 26th spot. She lasted almost 5 minutes in the contest before she was eliminated by Sonya Deville. Hartwell wrestled on this week's edition of NXT in a losing effort against Zoe Stark. Hartwell has now taken to Twitter to share an interesting GIF showing WWE Raw superstar Johnny Gargano writing NXT for life in the air. Many have interpreted the post as Hartwell showing her appreciation for the NXT brand before potentially joining Gargano on the main roster, with her recent loss possibly marking the end of her run in NXT. Gargano is currently aligned with Dexter Lumis, who Hartwell kayfabe married on the September 14, 2021 edition of NXT. Her former NXT Women's Tag Team Championship partner Candice LeRae also currently wrestles for the Raw brand. So it would kind of make sense to call her up to the main roster and reunite the way, I guess. That was reported in August 2022 that a call-up for Hartwell had been discussed. However, it's unclear why WWE didn't follow up through with their plans at the time. Nevertheless, if Hartwell shows up on the main roster, maybe as soon as Monday's edition of Raw, don't be too surprised. I mentioned Vengeance Day was this coming weekend, and more matches have been announced for the show, particularly on last night's go-home edition of NXT on the USA Network. Grayson Waller, of course, will challenge Bron Breakker for the NXT Championship in a steel cage match. Roxanne Perez will be defending her NXT Women's Championship against both members of Toxic Attraction, JC Jane and Gigi Dolan, in a triple threat match. All three women interacted on last night's episode, leading to not only questions of the loyalty between the two Toxics, but also saw a brawl break out by the end. By the end of the show, it was confirmed that Chase U had won an opportunity to join the NXT Tag Team NXT Championship match where the champions from the main roster, the New Day, will put their developmental titles on the line. Of course, the New Day are set to defend their NXT Tag Team Championships against Gallus, Pretty Deadly, and Chase U in a fatal four-way match for the bouts. Apollo Crews will be taking on Carmelo Hayes in a 2 out of 3 falls grudge match. The NXT North American Championship will also be on the line when Wesley defends against Dijak. And finally, in a delightful case of how can they coexist, yes, it is WWE after all, recent mortal enemies, Kiana James and Fallon Henley, have to put their differences aside in the quest for gold. The unlikely duo will be taking on Katana Chance and Kaden Carter for the NXT Tag Team Championship. So that event will be taking place this coming weekend, and of course, big news stories we'll be reporting out of it here on the channel. Finally, all aboard the Ho train for the next 5 years, well, at least WWE will be. Hall of Famer The Godfather has confirmed he signed a new deal with the company. Speaking on the Universal Wrestling podcast, Godfather, real name's Charles Wright, revealed he had agreed terms to a new 5-year Legends deal with WWE. Pointing out that he has been on the WWE payroll as a legend for almost 20 years, he said, quote, "To this day, I've been on a Legends contract since 2003 when I expired, and I've now just signed another one for 5 years. So, I mean, that says something. I've been on the payroll since 2003. It ain't bad being the Godfather, believe me." Now, The Godfather recently made his WWE return at the January 23 30th anniversary special edition of Raw. Discussing his recent appearance, Wright said, quote, "It's always great seeing the guys, especially the ones you haven't seen in a while, but I got there around 2 o'clock. Now, I just had hip surgery, so that's Wednesday. They cancelled me because they had a little more for me to do, but they cancelled it because at that point I was basically still on a walker, and then I had some appearances this week, and I did them on crutches, but they called me Saturday. They're like, hey, we need you. I'm like, guys, I'm on crutches right now. I'm not going to TV with crutches. So they came up with a little thing that I did, but it was great, man. I was in there with Hogan, Dallas, and now I got my knees done pretty soon. And Dallas was like, soon as you get your knee done, come down and spend some time with me. Taker was in there, Teddy Long, Ron Simmons, Bradshaw, Alundra Blaze were all in there just kicking. You had some big screens, telling old stories and lies and taking some pictures. It was a good time. And there you go, the Godfather on the WWE payroll for 5 more years. But there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news stories. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comment section below. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.